found some code that lets us scan two pieces of code. One that lets you scan an object and digitize it from different angles. And then there's an app that I also found online with the code to recognize that object in a scene. So this is going to let us do exactly what we wanted to do, is create a tutorial just create anything that we want, really, some accompanying text once we identify an object in a scene. And with that, we can place content above it, behind it, show a video, anything we want to once we identify that object in the scene. So that was pretty cool. So we'll be able to pick that up and do what we didn't know how to do last time.
That's fantastic. And that's what your code here in the meetup is about?
Yeah. So the first piece of the code that I posted, I need to post the second. Let me post that in the chat and I'll add that to the meetup because there's a second part to it. And the second part to it is in GitHub, and that's actually detecting the object. So there's two pieces of code. The first one is to scan the object that you want to find or detect. And then the second part of this is code that lets you detect the object that was scanned previously. So I'll post that in the chat and then we'll get started. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. All right, so the scanning app, actually, this first piece of code that we're looking at, it's called the scanning app. And it's actually an Apple code sample. So you notice in the bundle identifier, it's com example Apple sample code. And that's the one that I have listed also in the meetup. So let me post that in the chat as well. So the code basically does is it lets you turn on the camera and you place an object in front of the camera and then it guides you to go around. It creates like a box around the object that it thinks you're interested in. And they have a lot, if you take a look at the README when you open this project, they give you quite a bit of guidance about what to do and how it works, including lighting. They recommend 6,500 Kelvin, which is sunlight basically, or more bluish light than you would see in a typical home. Definitely incandescent is going to be a lot warmer. So they recommend a very white light. Quite a lot of luminant light. And then what the app will do is it'll basically do what's shown in these images. It's going to create a bounding box and then suggest that you go around it from different angles. And then this creates a reference object that we're going to use. And here's the documentation on that. It's an object that we're going to use in the second part of the app to find it. So when you're looking at a scene, when you have this reference object, it's going to make it possible to detect it and recognize it. So, all right, let's take a quick look at the code. One thing, I found a bug in Apple's code. And I fixed it. It was what they had done. They had something, and I think it's probably because they did this maybe in an earlier version, but when I was running it in my office, I didn't have a lot of light. And so what happened was in this particular update on every frame, which is running in a background thread, this message gets presented. The view controller shows an alert, and because it's happening on a background thread on iOS 14, it crashes. So what you're going to want to do to the code that comes out of the box from Apple is you're going to want to go and add a dispatch main queue async for the view controller itself so it doesn't crash. Because it's easy to do this in a low light situation, and that's what has happened to me. So if you're following along in the code, just make sure to pull up the scan.swift file, and around line 336, I think, yeah, you're going to add this dispatch main queue right here, and that will take care of that crash for you.
Would that have worked in an earlier version of iOS, or?
It would have. I think iOS 14 is getting more strict.
Ah, okay. I didn't think you were supposed to output on a background.
You're not, and I think this has clearly been happening on a background thread, even in earlier versions of iOS. So I think my theory is that they are getting more strict and less tolerant of showing an alert on a background thread. So maybe they're just handling it differently currently. I really don't know, but it did crash right away.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got that. That was the only change. Oh, the other change that you'll need to do is you'll have to go, like last time, when you pull this up, it's going to be scanning app, go to signing and capabilities right there, and change the team, because there'll be no team when you download the app from Apple directly. So assign your own team if you have one, and then we should be able to build it. No, it's not detecting it. All right, let's restart it. And how about we do something different? Maybe a stapler? I don't know. Let's try something. Oh, how about, yeah, let's try this. I'm gonna try this instead. No, it's definitely finding a lot of feature points on this object, so
right.
That's better. Long press size. All right, let me make sure we have the whole object in the box. It looks like we do. Scan. Okay. Well, that was detected.
Oh.
That's detected there.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so it's working. I think this is acceptable. All right, let's go ahead and share it. Since we are detecting the object, I think we're making progress. Share. And now I can save to files. I'm just shaving it on my shared drive. All right, cool. So let's do another object so that now we have something to look at. Let's see if I can do another simple object. How about this? All right, and let's restart. Well, discard the scan. I don't want to. I think I already. Let me check my folder here and see if I saved it properly. Okay. Yep, I have it in the transfers folder. All right, and then Let's go ahead and see if we can get this guy. Yeah, I think an important part of this is having a lot of feature points. So, all right, box a little bit bigger. All right, this one was happy. So let's go ahead and adjust origins. So let's go ahead and test it now. Oh, very nice. Yeah, I think the type of object was clearly important, right? Because the cup, maybe the cup had too much specular and it wasn't able to handle that very well, but it seems to be having an easier time with bear and the other holder. All right, good, very cool. I'm going to go ahead and share this one too. Now that we have these objects, what we want to do is recognize it and then take an action once it's recognized, other than just, you know, showing us the objects being recognized. One of the that second link I posted, the GitHub code, that one will attempt to find the object and then display a scene kit overlay, or above the object, display some text basically and an image. And so what I'll do is I'll close this. Any questions? Do you guys, anything you want to see in the code here? Before I close this one, we can come back to it if you want to. So we're going to go into this code. They call it the flower shop because in this particular GitHub code, he used this to identify different flowers and name them. This was Brian Advent who did this code. And let me see if I can find the assets that he's going to show, the game scene assets. Where is the product info? Here it is. So once an object's identified and recognized, it's going to pop up this code, right? This basically text and a picture. So we know we can change this to whatever we want, but for now, we're just going to leave it as is. And what I need to do now, though, is I need to import into this project the two files that we recognized. So let me go to the transfers, and I don't know where to put them. Let me see where that goes. Let me see if I can tell by looking at the code. Close that. Oh, flower objects, he called them. So does that mean that I need to name it, rename one of my files to flower objects in the main bundle? Let's try that. So I'm going to just go right here and let's take a look at, and I'm going to call that flower objects. I should be able to recognize more than one object, so I'm not sure how that's going to work. Copy, create groups, add to target. Make sure you select flower shop target. Okay, and let's try it out and see what happens. Take a quick look. I always like to look at the code before I run it. So we're going to go to the, well, take a look at the app delegate. Anything going on here? No. And so view controller, Let's see, viewed at load. We're going to load the game scene, which basically looks like it's just a placeholder. And these are the objects that we're looking for in the group. Okay, so we can actually, you have a group of objects, which is good. And this tells it, oh, cool. Look at that. He's placing an anchor above the object detected, creating a plane with a corner radius, basically rounded edges. And I think this C matrix scale, this changes the way the plane's oriented. And once we detect it, we are simply going to add it, when we get the anchor of the object, we're going to place this, where was it? The scene. We're going to basically just put the flower object over it. Oh, cool. Oh, here's another one. Oh, wait a minute. I think this is where we, okay. This is probably where we need to be doing this, right? I figured it out. Let's go ahead and grab that. Okay. So we have, let's see, our two scans here. I should have not called that flower object. I'm going to call this one the pen holder. And I'm going to call this one the bear. Bear pottery or something like that. Okay. Now we drop this here. And the pen, like so. That's better. Let's see what happens. So that makes more sense. That way we can have multiple objects. Yeah, so we don't need this one. I'll just delete that. The one I threw in there earlier. Here, let's just do this. I'm going to add a little bit of logging here and we, let's take a look here. Render. Okay, aside from the typo, let's see. So this if condition didn't get,
right.
Let's go ahead and add that in there.
Yeah, does this automatically load up all the objects that are in that folder?
Oh, yes, I think so. Let me go back to it there. Where were we on that? In group, well, if they're in the group, yes. Let me make sure that what I put in the group is actually, that's a good question. Flower, what was it called? Flower objects?
Flower objects, yeah. I'm not sure what a group means here, Chris.
It's basically like a project folder.
Okay.
Oops, what did I just do here? Oh, I just did some, did I just type something?
Yeah, something happened.
There we go. Okay, flower shop, flower objects. Let's make sure that they are part of the, let me move this out of the way. Go over there. Let's see what their membership. So the one that they provided us, Let's take a look at that. Okay, that's part of the Flower Shop Target membership. So's the bear, and so those look good. Okay, so we're okay there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then the rest, there's no more. Yeah, once we meet that condition, all of this happens. So I think we're just not meeting the condition of it being an AR object anchor. That's probably, yeah, it looks like that's our issue. So it could be that the files we created, maybe they're not good enough, or maybe they're not in the right format, but they are. Well, we'll look at that. We'll look at those again. I'm going to run it one more time and see.
Chris, do they give you an example object with the code?
They do, yes. And that's the one that, oh, okay. So, oh, look at that.
Okay.
We did meet the condition.
Okay.
But nothing happened. So that's good. So it's recognizing it. And what's not happening is something, so it's not being placed. And dang, I mean, everything's there, right? Because we've done this before. We're using a SpriteKit scene for the contents. We're making it double-sided. We're giving it the transform. Then, oh yeah, I'm still holding it. It's meeting it again. Then we created a scene node. And then we add it to the plane node as a child. So what happened? Why is this not working? Everything's there.
Are we possibly placing that outside of our field of view?
Oh, definitely possible. Oh, Jamie, you are a genius.
There we go. Awesome.
Wow. What would I do? I would be able to run this workshop without you.
Well, thank you.
So, there's our little bear. And there, amazingly, it is above it. It's just much higher outside of our field of view. Now, isn't this cool?
It's really cool.
It is very cool.
Let me move this out of the way. There, stay like that. I'm going to hide that stuff there. Okay. So, all right. Now, this is amazing. Amazing bear. Okay, cool. Wow. That's impressive.
We found him.
So I haven't used this here. Let's see, SK label node, and oh, I see. So that's the text. How do you edit this? Yeah, I have not played with a SpriteKit node, so this is something that we'll have to play. But obviously we can populate this text any way we want. I'm assuming I can double click on it, but no, it's not so simple. Let me see what we have here. All right, let's go back to this. Default. How do we set the text here? Because it's just showing us, the image and then the label nodes, but then I'm not able to edit this in the code. There's probably other ways. Obviously, we could display a video. We don't have to just use a label node and a sprite node. We can do images, and we can also display text without using this. So this is what this particular example, this is what they used, this gentleman used in his sample.
It referred to a file that I thought contained this sprite, and maybe that's what we need to edit, is however you would edit that file.
Yeah. So, and you notice here that we can do this, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Let's see how that looks when you run it. Okay. And there we are. And let's go find it. there you are.
And there it is.
Very, yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
Yay. Wow. Okay. Well, after a few hits, quite a few misses, this was there. So to move it down, let's see, I think he's probably got fixed values in setup. Like it's probably a hard-coded value. And instead of hard-coding it, yeah, here it is. So so what he did is it's plus 0.35 of a meter, which is quite a lot considering our bear is so tiny. So what we might want to do instead is, well, for now, let's just prove that this is the right place where we're at. We're going to do 1/10 of a meter. And once we figure out that this is true, then all we have to do is say, oh, instead of making it a fixed number, we can figure out the size of the object and then make it a fraction or a multiple of that object, right? And that way, we can have the label always, and actually we should also change the size, not just the label. So let's see here. Let's make sure we can find it. Oh, boom, there it is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that looks better. Awesome.
Yeah.
Do we have 2 of them? Oh, it found the other thing.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. It did.
Objects.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, here's the cool part. You want to see something cool? In theory, I should be able to move this, and this label should stay with it. Let me just try that, right?
Yeah.
No. Uh-oh.
Well, eventually.
Maybe it has to detect it again.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Find it now?
Let me see if it's going to do that.
But it kind of makes sense like
There it is.
AR. Yeah.
There it is.
Like AR museum things do this. And that must be how they're doing it.
Yeah, this is actually probably the foundation of a museum app, right? Definitely.
Yeah.
So this is a very cool. This is exciting because this gets to be. This to me seems like more of an actual real world application of AR that makes more sense. I remember this one. It had a lot more difficulty detecting this object than the bear. You can notice it hasn't moved it yet, whereas it seems to be easier with the bear for some reason. Yep.
It does seem to like the contours of the bear.
Yeah, it definitely had a lot easier time with a scan, and I think so. In a professional application, you'd want to set up proper lighting and maybe have a better setup where I don't have all this stuff in the background. Also, not be tethered, so you have better ability to move around the object, etc. So.
Right. Oh, it did finally find your cup.
Oh, there, it did. You're right. I was even trying. I'm going to move this guy here now. Let's see how that goes. On the glass. I always like to challenge. Yeah, there we go. There's the beer. There's the... No, I didn't. It's still there, right? Is that funny?
Yeah.
It's still there.
Oh, wait, I think it found it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the performance would obviously be better on a newer device. I'm using a 10R, iPhone 10R, which is pretty dated at this point. And so I think, especially now that the 12s are out, we would have much better performance. Yeah, this is amazing. I wonder what kind of information we're seeing. I'm going to add a little bit of debugging only because I'm curious to see what what the data stream looks like.
I'm sort of curious about the objects and how much of what aspect of the object is going into making up what identifies that object. Like, is it just the shapes? Are the colors important? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I have no idea, right? Because it's so abstracted.
Yeah, it's kind of a black box.
It is, yeah, it really is. If object anchor equals, anchor, so we're getting the node for the anchor in the scene renderer,
Right.
and if it meets, let's see here, then we just create all this code is creating the plane, it's creating the label that's floating above the object. So if you take all of this out, really, all the magic is happening in here.
Right there with that if.
Yeah. So what's going on in here? This AR reference object right here, dot reference objects in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
Oh,
I guess if we were doing this we're walking through that array, that we could probably associate different pieces of text with each of them. So like one for the bear and one for the vase or pen holder and one for the flower pot.
yeah, I'm trying to see what we have here. I'm going to go back to the view controller, and I wonder if I can do, if there's any, let's take a look at what this is. This may not be compatible at all, but we'll find out here, right?
It doesn't mean we
doesn't mean we can't try.
Right.
Let me hover over this. I wanted to get the quick shortcut about this. There we go. I don't want to get here we go. Okay. So it's an NS object. Track the positions. So it's going to have properties, right? It's going to be, all right, let's take a look what we have in here. Oops. NS anchor dot. Oh, it's going to have a name. Okay, that's. Description. Observation info. Oh, cool. All right, let's find out if we do name. Oops. Yeah.
So that's in case it didn't have a name, or is that in case it's
I think it's the type. I'm not sure. That might be the type.
Okay. Oh, do something.
Yeah, let's take a look at the console statement and see what came up here. Where was it?
Here, bear pottery.
Oh, wow, cool. There it is. Wow, that is awesome.
Okay, so it knows which object it was.
Yes, yeah. And that has the name property. So, so this is fantastic, because now all we have to do to make a real app is connect this to a database, figure out like what text we want to display. We could even go do a lookup somewhere on the internet, get the data from, that way you have current text, and then provide the content here dynamically.
Now, these little things that we're building that are labels, am I right in thinking those are sprites of some sort?
Yeah, they did. I've never played with sprites before. If you look at the, where was it here? Where was the productinfo.sk? Is that what you mean, Jamie?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, this was, oops.
That's a sprite?
It's a sprite.
Okay.
And
We could have just built it as an object ourselves if we'd wanted to, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know how to change this.
Yeah, we probably need to know more about sprites.
Yeah. Yep. So we got the, oh yeah, there's the pen holder. You notice that in the console, it also recognized the pen holder unbeknownst to, I wasn't even pointing at it. In fact, I'm going to do another little experiment right here, because what I noticed is I didn't even see the pen holder in my screen and seem to have identified it. So I'm going to try something here. Okay, so there it is. And let me see if it identifies it. Let me make sure okay, there's the bear pottery. It has to be in the view. I don't see how else it could be identified. Oh, wait, what? It's just the edge of, did you see what just happened?
I missed that. I was looking up sprites. What just happened?
Yes, do it again.
Well, I'll rerun it. Okay, what happened was, and then I'll rerun it. I barely came to the edge like this, and it identified the pen holder.
Wow.
Yes.
Cool.
So let's do that again, because that was totally unexpected. Go away. I need to move this out of the way. Why is this not going away? Go away.
Looks like Ray Wenderlich has an article on sprite kits. That might be.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's going to be worth looking at. All right. So I'm going to rerun it. And I'm going to start nowhere. And I'm going to slowly move. Oh, there it goes. So it identifies the object even when it has a part of the object.
Yeah.
And so let me watch the console. I'm going to slowly pan to the right. And it detected the pen holder even before.
Whoa.
In the view.
Plus, even in our field of vision.
Yeah, so that tells us something interesting about the camera, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I wonder if it was on an iPad, if you would have a wider field of view.
Yeah, so you're right. So the camera's field of view is broader than what you're seeing on the screen.
Yes, that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting discovery, which is kind of scary for people who think that the iPhone, if you're doing a video and you think you're outside this field of view, well, you're not, right? Because it's seeing around corners, right? or like I guess like my wife, she's got eyes behind her head. That is very cool. So I'm going to rerun again. I want to get an idea of how many degrees it seems to be that it has. I'm going to draw some little dots right here. Let's do this. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to draw a couple of dots like that to get an idea of how far. That way we can see those dots as we move across. So I'm going to stop it and restart. All right, there's the bear. I detect that pretty quickly. And I'm going to slowly pan to the right. Not the most scientific thing I've ever done, but there it is. So right around the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, it's about right to here. So, and we don't know whether it detected just the edge or, if the camera. So the camera's, it's got a little bit, maybe like 5-10 degrees more than what we would be able to see through the screen itself. So yeah, it detected it right here.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is, huh?
And it has to have enough of the surface to decide that it's actually seeing that object.
Right. Yeah. Which kind of, right. Which is making me think that it's probably when we're pointing here, it's probably seeing at least this much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least half that object. That would be. I can't think that it would be able to detect it.
Yeah, I'm going to try an experiment running it in landscape mode, and I want to see what happens there.
Okay.
All right, so running it. Oh.
I'd also be curious to know at some point, Chris, if you covered up half the object, if it would still detect it.
Oh, let's do that next. Yes. So I'm going to move this here, just out of the way. Did we detect? Oh, you won't see the console statement, but.
But we detected it.
Oh, we did already, yeah, the bear. So I'm going to continue moving, and I'll tell you when I see the. This didn't seem to. Oh, wait. Yeah, there's the. It didn't work as quickly here. There we go. So there's. This kind of gives us a clue. I'm going to do this here so you can see. Let me move this down here. And I'm going to rerun it. What I think this tells us is that the camera is more of is more like a lens, like square vision, field of vision than, let's go do this.
That actually makes sense.
Right, yeah. Okay, so see that? It did it when it had the whole bear in its field of vision. It detected detected it. So I'm going to continue, and let's see when it detects the pen holder. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it hasn't done it yet. There we go. So it's at least 90% of it, most of it.
Right.
Okay. Oh, very interesting. All right, so let's stop that. And I'm going to do it. What was the next experiment we're going to do?
Cover up half the bear and let's see if
yeah. Right.
I'm just curious about this.
Yes, let's grab a piece of paper. Huh. All right.
Yeah, it doesn't know that's a bear.
It doesn't know yet. Let's go ahead and move the paper slowly off of it and see what happens.
Got a bear yet? Up.
Oh, nice. That was about half.
Yeah, it found it with half the bear.
Yeah. I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to move the camera around a little more to give it a better chance of finding it with less of the bear.
Okay. So it's looking at it more head on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what happens without exposing too much of the scene. Yeah, no, it needs more. Looks like it needs about half of it. Looks like. I'm trying to see if that makes a difference. Didn't make as much of a difference, so it's really having it more exposed. It's surprisingly easy, right, to do this.
Yeah, it actually was.
I was really surprised.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing last week and this week is just conceptually understanding things.
Yes, yeah. At least we do. I think we have a good understanding, right? Pat, that's great. That's a good point. We have a conceptual understanding. I'm not happy because I don't know what's happening under the hood, but that's not really what, Apple's obviously making it where you don't need to know. They're abstracting everything for us. We know that we can get a lot of information from the object itself, which I think is probably the most important thing. There was one more I noticed in here that I'm curious to see if I can grab, and that was, my keyboard's not working. There we go. Oops, I'll just do it this way. Print. anchor dot description. All right, let's see what that looks like.
Oh, that would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, just gonna do this here to just make it easier to visualize where that data is. And let's take a look at that. Okay, and move there. There's the bear. Okay, let's take a look at the description. Oh, okay, so there's the description. I think that's this right here, right?
The object, yeah.
Yeah.
It does list some things like where it thinks the center of it is, and where, oh, and the rotation it thinks it's off of maybe what it thinks is the primary direction looking at it.
Yeah, wow, that's fun. That's great, right?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So that we have the transform and we have the rotation, an object identifier, which we were using that. If you remember, we had that hand object that we had imported in one of the workshops.
Yeah.
We were getting references to all of the different parts of the hand. So here it's treating it as one piece. And then you have the name. Yeah, I'm not sure what the coordinates are, reference and the extent, but
so given one of these objects, is there any way to display what it thinks it looks like?
oh, sure. Because we have that when I mean, I don't know how to do it now, but we should have all of that information. We could create like a mesh of it, right? Like
Right.
display some sort of a mesh.
That would be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you want to show something in, you know, like what the inside of a machine looks like. We could create that, yeah. Not ready to try that now. I don't really have any clue as to how we would do that, but conceptually, I think we should be able to, Jamie.
That's interesting. This was actually really exciting today.
Yeah, this is really fun.
Yay.
Well, I think so. So, Pat, you're definitely have a good vision of where we should be headed next. What do you think? What do you think we should look at during the next workshop?
Now that we have objects, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we have objects, would it be possible to place them certain places? Does that make a difference where they are in space? So for example, if you had museum walls, right? Pretending like you had paintings on walls, does it make a difference where they're placed as to what could happen?
So in like our example, like, so are you saying based on what we're doing today, like the bear, I have it on a piece of cardboard. Are you asking if, for example, I held it up like this, would that make a difference?
No, like what if you walk into a room and that's on a pedestal? Does it make a difference where it is? It might not.
It should not, right? It definitely should not make a difference.
Right. So then the next thing is, what could you do to activate an object? So already you're tagging it and there's a label, but what if you activated it like your little bear there, and maybe you recorded yourself about where you found it or where you purchased it, or or the artist that made it, something about that. Ooh. I mean, I have been, no matter what I'm doing, AR or VR, I'm very interested in objects and the stories behind objects. And it's probably like one of my top 10 things that I'm most interested in. because people always tell you interesting stories about objects.
So so you detect the so first we scan it in, we have all that like we did this morning.
Right.
Then you're walking around a gallery, or you're walking around with your iPhone.
Right.
You detect the object, and pops, instead of a static page, you have a video of the artist talking about it, its history. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's one possibility. The other thing is, I've talked to people at White Sands, and if you're outside where they have all those models of rockets and other devices, where the outside museum is, if you were to walk by one of those, number one, you would get the text information that you did today, but you could also, it would tell you a story. It would say, this is using some kinds of metrics or something to measure distance, or this is a Hermes missile. This is, whatever. But you would get a little more information about it.
Totally. I think we could even do is pop up like a virtual dialog box for the user over the object, where they would have an option, for example, to hear an audio recording, see a video, or see a diagram. So that makes it very interactive, right?
That's absolutely right, because what they've given Melinda and I is access to their archives, and they have exactly those things. They have documents, they have maps, they have scans, and this happens with a lot of archives. It takes a lot of volunteer work to put things together, right? So you may have a miscellaneous image of, German scientists working on a particular missile, and then outside is the missile, but those two things are not connected. And then there's a person in Las Cruces who worked with them, and they got a story.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, so if we pre-record that, then it's trivial to just show that, right? As we identify, as the person walks in front of this object or by the object, it's trivial to show a video about it if it's pre-recorded. If it's not, then we still could do something. You could actually open up a Zoom window and make a call to someone else, right? See if you can connect those five.
Right. For example, I showed a video of the very first V2 launch, and it turned out that there was a man in the audience who said, he's in his 90s now, and he said, I was there.
What?
Yes, and he used to live in Las Cruces. He now is in a rest home in Southern California, but I'm still in contact with him. He writes like a little newsletter about stuff.
Wow.
I know. So this guy's name's Doyle, but he was a scientist he was an engineer.
He was an engineer, and he was there. That's incredible.
He was there, right. So it's like, those are the kind of things that I think bring education alive.
Yeah, no kidding. That's like the ultimate way to connect the history, looking backwards, with bringing it forward. I'm trying to find the words for it, but it's like making the connection between the creator and the result, right?
Right. Exactly. And I don't know. So it doesn't have to be that content. It could be any content. It could be the zoo in Albuquerque. It doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of really working with how, especially in education, or say it was just like even a family trip. I mean, you take a lot of family trips. So on your way, what are the interesting things, before you get to Socorro, Big Array or something.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, and can you imagine like you know, with cars getting more and more sophisticated and all of these different scanners on vehicles, you know, that's something we talked about last time was LiDAR. As a vehicle's traveling, we know where it is, we know what it's seeing. You don't even have to have your iPhone out, but you have a display, so you could overlay information to the traveler, especially if you know that they're in a visitor mode, like somehow you let the car know that you're doing some tourism. You could have things pop up if you want, right? As you're traveling through a village or through a town. I don't know how distracting that might be, but it would be a great way to make travel more engaging for people, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Speaking of travel, another thing that would be really interesting to do along the educational lines is, like, as you're traveling through a town or a museum or something, have an object identified and tell you what it is in a different language.
Oh yeah, like in Spanish.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there's no limits. I mean, there's no limit to what, because we can internationalize the content based on settings of the particular device. So we can have different language videos, different language banners like we had done earlier. There's really no limit. All that's actually pretty trivial because the magic that's going on behind the scenes is absolutely incredible. And Apple's making it super easy for us to access this data right here. So very nice. So I think maybe next time let's take a look at doing that, making the content dynamic and having it display either a video or a text banner depending on some logic that we want to throw in there. And that way we can kind of experiment with showing content in different formats.
That's cool.
That sounds good.
Yeah, cool. Well, yeah, awesome.
Thank you. Today was great.
Yeah, no, this was really, really fun. And I'm excited.
Fantastic. Thank you. Enjoy.
My pleasure. Have a good weekend.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
y'all.
Bye. Bye.